I recently wrote an article entitled "Who Am I?" I published it on my blog and on Psychology Today, and I've been startled by how many people have read it. To date, well over 100,000. So I wondered why that was so. I went on to Google and typed in "Who am I?" and there came my article. So I realized that this is a very, very popular search term. People wonder and struggle with this question of "Who am I?" I propose that it's the wrong question. Who am I suggests that there is actually a fixed, specific answer to the question, a very fixed sense of identity. What I would modify, or the way I would change that question, is for us to ask, how would I like to experience my life? When I ask that question, I get a notion of change, of evolution, of process, as opposed to fixed identity. Some people are eager to make change, they can't wait, and they ask how they can do it. Other people might say, I don't need to change, or I know myself so well, I don't need to reflect. Very, very differing positions and worldviews about sense of identity. From my work as a therapist, I've come to see that people who are fixed about their notion of themselves, or are reluctant or ambivalent about an evolving sense of identity, tend to be people who are holding on to old coping mechanisms. And what I mean by that is this. In childhood, early in life, we actually craft our personalities. We don't know we're doing it. But we decide that if I act this way, I may be more popular. If I act that way, I may be a little more loved. If I have a very conflicted, hostile family, I may develop a persona so that I am a people pleaser, so I won't get into trouble. These coping mechanisms early in life may suit us very well. They make us safe. The problem is, decades later, they're no longer necessary, and they actually burden us. They burden us because they block our authentic self from emerging. And to have that authentic self emerge, we realize we can shed these old, tired parts of our personality, the old coping mechanisms, if you will, because they're not necessary any longer. When we can shift into that perspective, we no longer ask the question, who am I? When I am asked by a client I am working with, or during a lecture I'm giving, who am I? My response is, it's not about discovering who I am. It's about unfettering and unburdening myself so I can let emerge the potential of who I might be. If you come to see your identity in a way that's similar to what the emerging sciences describe in terms of the way the universe operates, which is that the universe is full of potential. It is flowing, it's participatory, and it's ever-evolving. I like to think of identity in a very, very similar fashion to that. So rather than the fixed point in time, one reference point for how you know yourself, opening to distinct possibilities, new states of potential, realizing that with the shift of your mind, in an instant, with a new thought or a new insight and a new reflection, your sense of self and your identity grows, shifts, and emerges.